It's the world famous KROQ. I'm Megan Holiday. I'm here with Foster the People.
Hey.
What's up, dudes?
How's it going?
So, you just performed here at Morongo. How did it feel to play some of the new record, off the new record?
It felt really good. You know, it was interesting. I think that was the first time we played those songs acoustic. So you know, it's always interesting, like after making a record and playing it live a few times, to like break it down and try to deconstruct and figure out, you know, like how we're gonna translate it on a acoustic guitar.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
well, it just came out yesterday, so it's called Sacred Heart Club.
Yeah.
And so do you feel like relieved, excited now that it's out?
I mean, I feel great. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we've been in the studio for like 2.5 years, about just kind of, you know, with no windows and just surrounded by gear and not really having a lot of human interaction, and definitely having a lack of vitamin D. So to be out in the, you know, on tour playing this live for people, you know, it's been like a really nice change for us. And yeah, and I think also with this record too, I mean, I think like we're really like a lot of the time cognizant of what's this gonna sound like live, and like really thinking about how it's gonna translate live, which I don't think we really kind of thought about too much on the other records, you know, like, and so you know, I think we've been kind of itching, you know, to play these songs live.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it sounded great. And something that you said on stage like struck a chord with me, because like with Torches, you guys, you know, talked about gun control. With Supermodel, you guys were, you know, talking about capitalism, consumerism. So with this record, you know, what were the themes that you were kind of focused on?
I mean, I think like this record's, you know, it's about love, I guess, and unity. I think a lot of the record was written as a response to what's been going on around the world the last few years, and I feel like, you know, it's with Supermodel, I felt like people were really apathetic and comfortable kind of in a bubble, and so a lot of those lyrics are really pointed. But with this record, when things really started hitting the fan globally, I just felt like people needed a hug. And so I think like a lot of this record, I think, is just about, you know, it's just about, you know, the fact that love is bigger than politics. You know, I got in so many fights. I mean, I campaigned for Bernie. I knocked on doors in Iowa before the primary there, and was like really politically involved. But after the election happened, I really just like, I took a step back and I was like, you know, this is only divisive at this point. Like, this is where we're at. I don't want to get in like any more fights with like my family or my friends or like, you know, people that love me. And I feel like across the country, like people were super divided over it. And so, you know, I think for us, it's been important, just music's so uniting, you know, to bring people together from all walks of life, and just talk about the fact that, you know, our differences are what makes us beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So maybe a question for Isom. Is it true that you guys mastered this record like 3 times?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I want to say I have actually 5 versions on my iTunes of different mastering. So yeah, well, we finished we thought we'd finished the record, and we kind of have a ritual where we get in a room and have some drinks and see and listen to everything in order. And then actually Mark brought it up after he kind of had a weird feeling in his stomach and realized that the record wasn't done yet. And it kind of took me a second to accept that, because I was ready to just say it was done. But we ended up going in and adding transitions, and we shaved a lot of length off the record. We really wanted it to play as one continuous listen.
No, for sure. Well, I think, you know, it sounds amazing. Are there any like specific tracks that you guys, you know, like playing live off the record?
I think
You're like, oh, we haven't had a chance yet.
well, no, we've actually been implementing the new ones as soon as we could. You know, we were excited to try to get them going. I think for me, I mean, I didn't even really think about it. It was just instinct when you said that. Sit Next to Me is probably...
Yeah, that one's like super groovy,
my
like
favorite,
70s.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe it's just that whole groove thing. It's like me and Tyler, the bass player, I think we lock really well to that. It's just like you kind of get into a meditative state with those kind of grooves, you know. So,
what about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I love that song, but I think Sacred Hearts Club is probably my favorite off the new record. I think it really embodies the band. You know, I think you hear everyone's personality like so distinctly, and I love that. Not that it's you know, you don't hear that on other songs. That's not what I'm saying. But I just think like at the core of like this record, it's like that's Ponzi, that's Isom, that's Mark, it's me, and it just is. Plus, he's fucking badass. I just love that playing the song. You know, it's such a guitar song. I'm sorry. Maybe that's the only reason.
Cheers to that.
I'm not gonna bullshit.
I love that. So like this record, it's got so many different influences. It's like 70s, like disco, R&B. There's like dance stuff in there. Like we were talking about earlier, Lotus Eater is like a total like punk rock, kind of like reminds me of like Iggy Pop a little bit. So was that like an intentional thing for you guys to do that?
I think for us, you know, you chase your instinct, you chase what's exciting and innovative to you, and for us, all of our favorite records have always moved across genre. And it's something when we started this record, we didn't put any parameters around it. We just started experimenting and we're free to just chase any musical idea and see where that led. So halfway through the recording process, we were able to finally look back and start connecting dots. And
yeah, it was interesting like how it came together too, because I think like when we first started writing for this record, a lot of the stuff that was coming out was kind of like surf, psychedelic, like guitar driven stuff. And then Isom, like I went over to his home studio one day, and he'd been working on like I mean we all kind of, all four of us like kind of produce and write on our own for fun all the time, like whether we're working for something on the band or just like for ourselves. And I heard Isom was like working on something. He's like, let me play something I did, not for our record at all. It was like in a completely different lane. And he played a few beats, and one of them was the beat, this like the like beginning of the beat, like the seed of the beat for Pay the Man, and then a beat for Loyal like Sid and Nancy. And when I heard that, I was like, Isom, like these have to be like on a record. Like this is like, we have to chase, like do this. And that was kind of like a really interesting moment, because we've been in this kind of guitar-driven psych world that was very cohesive, and then that brought in this whole dance hip-hop element that was like something that the band had never really played with before. And like, I mean, you know, like long story short, we ended up with basically 2 records full of material, one hip-hop electronic dance, one guitar-driven psychedelic, and like we had like a lot of conversations, like do we put these 2 out separately and keep the record in one world? Or do we try to figure out a way to tie this together in a really strange way that will take you kind of on a ride? And I think like, you know, we chose the latter, you know, because I think like Isom was saying, like a lot of our favorite records take you on a ride like that, and cross genre, like Blur, you know, like Sgt. Pepper did it, you know, like
Talking Heads, Remain in Light, J Dilla, Donuts.
Yeah, and so and we live in like a postmodern time of music to where it's like everybody, like including ourselves, like we grew up on hip hop, we grew up on psych, we grew up on classical, we grew up on jazz, we grew up on blues, we grew up on all this stuff. So it's just I think it's just kind of a reflection on like what's swirling around inside of us musically.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, like, throughout all of it, it still sounds like Foster the People, which is, like, what I think is so cool. And even parts of it remind me of, like, the Beach Boys, like, pet sounds. Because you guys will throw, I'm like, did I just hear, like, a video game sound in there? Or, like, you know what I mean? And it's just, like, it's a really cool thing. So for the future, you guys are, like, doing a bunch of festivals, Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits. So, yeah, what are you, looking forward to most this year?
I mean, yeah, you know, we're all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels so good to be back on the road, and playing, and especially like this new record. There's so many different colors that I feel like we've added to our palette. You know, looking at Torches and looking at Supermodel, like this is like our set list and the energy of our show is completely changed because of this record. And so I think tying that together and really kind of constructing like the flow of what our show is now has been something that's been really creative and interesting.
Well, I'm excited for you guys to come to LA eventually and see you all plugged in and everything. So yeah, Foster the People, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
It's KROQ.